Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to make an incline icedye spiral. It looks like I have this shirt turned inside out. There is really no rhyme or reason to turning the shirt inside out. I pre-wash all of my things inside out, so it just sort of stays that way. So smooth out as many wrinkles as you can. You want a nice smooth surface to work with. Decide where you want the center of your spiral to be and give it a little pinch. And then using the microwave splatter guard and a hemostat, I'm going to create my spiral. So you want to click your hemostat down on the first click. It does not need to be overly tight. You do not want to tear a hole in the center of your shirt. And also don't press the hemostat hard against the table. It's just there to hold the center of the spiral in place. Give it 2, 3, 4, 5 twists, and then that's it. And with your opposite hand, you're going to create the pleats and create the spiral. So if you notice, I'm using the hemostat to hold the spiral still, and with my opposite hand, I pull the shirt out and around, creating the pleats. And when I've gone as far as I can with the splatter guard, I unclick the hemostat, hold down the center of the spiral, gently wiggle it out, and I like to secure my spirals by using rubber bands, and these are my favorite rubber bands in the color purple. And I do have links down below in the description box for everything that I use, so go ahead and check that out. Let's talk about the splatter guard for a minute. So they're becoming harder and harder to find. Today is November 3rd of 2022. So if you're watching this in the future, sorry if the link for the splatter guard is no longer working. If you are watching it today and you're on the fence about getting one and you want one, I suggest that you get one now. The price is steadily increasing as the demand for them becomes higher and the quantities available become less. So strike while the iron is hot. Now, if you are watching it in the future and the link for the splatter guard is no longer working, please refrain from leaving me a nasty comment. I am a real human being. I'm sharing my tie-dye journey with all of you guys. I try to help and make the tools easy for you to find, but it's also not my responsibility to provide them for you. So please just keep that in mind when you're about to say something mean to me about my links not working. Next, you want to build yourself some type of an ice barrier, and I prefer to use these silicone cake molds because I can wash them and reuse them. And when I'm applying them to the spiral, I like to go with the direction of the spiral so that way all the little loose bits that are sticking out lay nice and flat. I have the shirt propped up on an incline, so the top of my rack, these closet-made racks have like a little lip on them, so I have the lip, hooked over the top of the tote, and then the bottom of the rack is down inside the tote, which I have propped up with empty dye jars, and you can't see those because they're underneath the other two shirts, but that way the shirt's not sitting in the muck. But because I have the shirt already up on an incline while adding my dye, the dye is falling into places where I don't want it. So originally I was just going to do one piece of pie in this color and another piece of pie in another color. And as I'm adding the dye, it's rolling downhill. So I decide, well, then I'm going to do 2 pieces of pie. And then I say, well, to heck with it. I'll just do like a half and half shirt. So things always change on the fly. And that's the fun part of tie-dye. You just have to have fun with it. So if you're going to do this particular dye pattern, you can use any colors that you like, but you just want to make sure that your dye intersects through the center of the spiral. And also, I want to point out that this color is a great dupe for Stormageddon. Stormageddon is a special order dye that you get from Dharma Trading Company, and you have to order 5 pounds of it at a time. It's also one of the zombie colors. Well, if you go over to the Tie-Dye Supplies Marketplace on Facebook, you can order small quantities of dye there. And that's always up and running, so I highly recommend that you guys check that out. And I do have a link for the marketplace down below in the description box, just so it's easy for you to find. Take note of how heavy I added the brush steel on and how light-handed I'm going with the black cherry. This comes with experience with playing with your dyes. I know that it requires more dye for the brush steel to make an impact, whereas black cherry is one of those heavy hitting colors, so you don't need to add quite as much. I give the project a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure, and I add my ice. And because this project is on an incline, I start by adding the ice down at the bottom. That way it doesn't roll downhill, knocking dye into areas that I don't want it. Now, it's not necessary to cover your project, but as you can see here, I'm doing an assembly line. So I'm using the foil just to keep dye and ice out of the other projects, so you don't have to cover it. And then it's recommended that you let it batch at 70 degrees or higher for at least 24 hours. I set the project aside and I let it batch for the full 48 hours. Now pay attention to the back. You see all that white? I did that on purpose for my project. I want white in this project. If you do not want white in your project, I recommend that you flip it over after the first layer of ice melts, reapply dye, soda ash, and ice, and let it batch. So now it's time for the rinse out. You want to start by using cold water. Cold water is going to rinse away any soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric. And then you want to increase your water up to hot and rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. So the cold water removes the soda ash, the hot water removes the unbonded dye. It goes down your drain instead of into the washing machine. So from here I take it to the washing machine, and I like to do hot water cycles using Kirillon. Kirillon is a professional textile detergent. And then I like to do a final hot water cycle using Millsoft. And Millsoft is a professional fabric softener. And then I'll put it in the dryer and I'll iron it, and we'll come back and we'll see the results. And ironing has nothing to do with the process other than it makes your shirts photograph better. So I highly recommend that before you share your projects, you iron them, especially if you're going to be putting them up on a website or Etsy. You really should iron them. Well, here it is, guys. Here's our Incline ice dyed spiral after it's been washed and dried, and I think it turned out really beautiful, like super beautiful. This is my cup of tea right here. This is the type of shirt that I really enjoy to wear. I know that I make a lot of spirals, you guys, but it's just my favorite thing to do, and we all have to make what makes us happy. And I love the white space in it. It just makes the black cherry and the brush steel pop, and you can see the color splits that way. When I first started making tie-dye, if I saw white in a project, I felt like I was a failure. Like it's like I missed a spot. Now I embrace it, and I want you guys to get that way as well. I mean, there is a time and place for heavy saturation, and I think that's great. And then there's also a time to see white space and just let the colors breathe, because look at that. If the white space wasn't there, you would not see all those beautiful colors showing through. This is a gorgeous color combination. It's good for any time of year. Black cherry is absolutely stunning as an ice dye because it throws that really dark, deep purple and then some light pinks and lavenders, and it's just really one of my favorite colors. So overall, I'm extremely pleased with this shirt. What do you guys think? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing!